most of the things that drive us crazy about customer service is done on purpose, right?
Hello, I'm Shauna, and today I'm joined with the wonderful Amas.
How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. I'm good. Good to see you as well. It's been a little bit of a while,
Yep.
but we've got a lot to talk about. So I'm eager to dive in
Let's
because I
go.
don't want to waste any other time on getting around everything else. So I
Let's go.
have so much to talk to you about. You've got so much experience and opinions, and I want to hear all of them. But let's start with you. So
Hmm.
tell me a little bit about your experience. What you've been doing with your life. I'm hoping something good.
It's not been all good, but look, I've devoted my career, life's work on really two topics, which is around how to improve customer service experiences for our consumers, employees all around the world, and then in my spare time, I'm very fascinated with this topic of living a blissful, peaceful life and all of that. But career-wise, gosh, over 20 years now, really focused on making sure those of you who are listening, your customer service is better than it was yesterday. Has been my life's work. So I've done the consultant then, I've been in IT, I've developed software. I've ran large and small customer service organizations all around the world. So this is what I live, breathe, and think about is how to improve customer experiences for everyone around the world.
Some people might say that's weird, but okay. No, just kidding. I want to know what really drew you to customer service. Was there something that kind of was made it click for you and was like, yeah, this is the industry for me?
Yeah, maybe it was the street vendors growing up in New York. I had a bad experience with a hot dog stand, and I decided, no, that's not really, that's not really how it played out. It's really accidental. I started as a software developer, huge into IT, and then by accident I got into this world, and it's a perfect intersection for me in that I love behavioral science. I'm always interested in what motivates the mind and all of that, and I love technology and this whole space, people and technology and processes. It's a good intersection. I went to college for engineering, so it brings. I am an extroverted IT person, so
Don't find many of those.
it's so I started there, and it's allowed me to really have fun. So I don't think about it as work because it's this intersection of lots of things I am naturally gifted at and interested in, for sure.
I bet that makes you a really good consultant as well, like knowing both sides of the coin kind of thing. Because I'm technical, but I'm not, engineering kind of technical. So I can hear what you say and I can tell the customer this is what he means, but doing it, that's another level. So I commend you for that because it's definitely a good skill to have, like especially for developers. They're normally the people that don't really want to talk to people. So being
Exactly.
able to do both is really good. Well done. And so from then, so more recently, you've become an author. And what made you kind of get to the point where you started saying, I need to write a book?
Well, look, when I think about writing, I think about some of my literary heroes. To me, the greatest of all time is Hemingway. I have never admired a man who used the N-word that frequently as he does. But put the human being aside. I just think I find his style of writing do it. So before I write a book, I would read Hemingway. It takes the pressure off because then I know I would never write anything that good. Then I'm free to go out and just express it. But writing's always been a part of me, journaling and all that. It's a way for me to express my thoughts clearly. So I've been blogging and writing way before It was cool. And so it's always a natural outlet for me to just get my thoughts down. Most of what I write for myself. In part, I worry because if the world sees them, they might decide to put me on some island somewhere. But every now and then, I share what I'm thinking out in the world, and it's honest and it's just raw. I love the long form. I love video and podcasts too, but writing would always be my first love.
Fair enough. Okay. I would love to know who you compare yourself to. So, as a writer, is there anyone? Because I'm guessing it's not Hemingway. Um, is there anyone you say, okay, this is the kind of style or kind of voice that I compare to?
Yeah, I look, we all, if you're an American, I think Hemingway is always in the back of your mind. You're either trying to run away from Hemingway, do something the opposite, or you're trying to be like him. But contemporary, Stephen Dobner, he wrote Freakonomics, one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
He is an author that really love his style, because what he tries to do is what I'm trying to do: take really complicated topics and write them in simple sentences that anyone can understand. And I still struggle with that, but Stephen Dobner and their team do a great job of writing in the way I aspire to.
And has that crossed over with any of your influences for like the customer experience side? Is there anyone who you feel you might compare to in that essence?
Yeah, this topic will get me in trouble, but when I think about influences, I think the industry and customer experience, whether it's the writing or the experts and the guru, most of them are either boring and not saying anything. They're saying things like water is wet, which I'm not sure what benefit it is. Like, you must treat your customers well and treat your employees good, like duh. Or it's in the obscure where they're writing things that are written for the people in the industry, so no one really knows what the heck it means. Customer centricity and all of that. So in general, lately, I tried to not read anyone and get influenced by it, because, oh my gosh, the drivel on LinkedIn and all around on just everyone just saying this nonsense. Either it's like, this is not useful. Customer service is important. Customer experience is a differentiator. Like, you're not saying anything. You're using lots of words, or it's too confusing. So I do my best to not be influenced by anyone. But having said that, I don't want to give the impression I'm a hermit. There are people who have influenced me. I think about Bob Furness, my dear friend Bob, who, gosh, for 15 years, he's always focused on the employees. I've always like that. Then, and probably my biggest influencer, unfortunately, is dead, is the late Herb Kelleher, the ex CEO of Southwest Airlines. When I was writing my first book in 2015, I tried to get him in the book. He didn't do that, but he gave me some of his time, and he's really influenced how I think about this topic greatly. But my contemporaries, the customer experience and experts out there, they go anywhere from bore me to annoy me, has been my experience. I try not to read anything.
I don't blame you. Sometimes I do get it. It's kind of you have like really generic kind of, yeah, I know that already, like, but why did I buy this book kind of thing. That I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll put that down. All right. I'll never actually finish it because I'm like, yeah, I'm bored now. So your new book, Waiting for Service, this is different
Yes.
from your other books, isn't it?
It is. I got to tell you, it was, on the one hand, one of the easiest book I've ever written because it just poured out of me. But I didn't do much research for the books. I didn't want to get influenced by my contemporaries. But I also didn't want to write a book that everyone else had written, right? So the thing I hope that people get out of this book more than anything else, your impression should be, yeah, this is different. I have not heard this before. And I wanted to talk to a brand new audience. I got to tell you, the experts, which I am a part of, the customer experience gurus and the professionals, I want out of the club because we sort of just talk to each other. we just use these terms and we're just talking in a small circle. My hope for writing Waiting for Service is I want to talk to a larger audience. I think in part, people in my life who know me professionally, number one, most of my family and friends don't really know what I do. I think they think I maybe sell drugs or whatever. They can't really articulate what do you actually do. They see me on conference calls and don't really get it. But what they do get is, hey, you're the guy who's in the customer service thing. So people would come to me and talk to me about their customer service complaints and this happened and what have you. And when they go read my old book, they can't really understand much of what it is because it's talking to this small group. I decided, let me teach everyone about this industry. Let me share more than you want to know. Let me take you into the sausage factory and show you how the sausage is made. You're going to be a little queasy at times, but then you would at least be more educated about it. And I'll teach you some things on how to get better service was my motivation for the book.
Customer service is one of those things that's a little bit like politics. No one actually realizes that it's part of everything that you do, but actually it is. Like just calling your local takeout is literally customer service, like everything. Just walking down the street. So I think people underestimate how much influence it has on their life or how much it influences the customer service they receive on their day and stuff like that. So I'm quite curious about what you feel the state of customer experience and customer service is right now. Do you feel like we're on a tipping point with everything else, with the heightened awareness from people about what's going on in the world with BLM and Me Too and the Great Resignation? Is this a time where we might see a change in the customer experience, customer service sector?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we are in the midst of something, and it could go kind of one of two ways. There's a confluence of things going on. There is the empowered. We've left the age of the empowered customer, which turned out they not as empowered as we thought. There was the story we used to tell, and I used to tell the stories too, and it turned out to not be true. I remember in like the mid 2000s, call it 2009, 2010, I don't know if you remember the United Breaks Guitar event where United broke this country musician's guitar. He writes the song, United Breaks Guitars, gets like 10 million views or something. Their stock price goes down and everyone's going, yes, the little guy now has power. Of course, the stock went on to recover all of its gains. And there was this perception that the customer had power, and it turned out not to be true. I mean, how empowered was me, the customer? I walk into a grocery store and I don't even want to go in anymore because there's so many choices. I'm paralyzed. I'm bagging my own groceries. It's a whole thing. I think we are going into the empowered employee, and we're going to find out how empowered the employee is, right? So there's leverage on the side of labor for once, and I am loving it. But we'll see how labor sort of does capital take back control. So you've got all these influences. And socially, there's also the revolt against the Karens of this world who are, yelling and asking for the manager. There's a different tone. It's like you need to be nicer to service. There's all of these confluences going in. I don't want to overreact to it, in that I think there will be a revision to the mean. We were going to kind of go back to where we came from to event. So, but there is all these things. I think, though, the big thing that we're in the precipice now is up until this point, it has been all around how can I not talk to you? How can I send you to an automated system, phone tree from hell? Websites that don't work, kiosk with the touchscreen. It's been all around sending you to more and more and more automation, whether it's good or bad. That's where the energy has been going. Mm-hmm. And I think, my bet is customers are sick of it. They're sick of your crappy phone trees. They're sick of the deal. And even young people, I mean, Gen Zers are like, give me someone I can have a conversation with. And I think that's going to lead to some interesting outcomes. A combination of that, the empowered employee. I'm hoping it means we are entering another era where it's not so much devoted to automated technology, but humanity gets back in service. And yes, of course, technology will play a part, but that's where I hope we are. I am not an optimist, as you can hear in the tone of my voice. I'm not a pessimist either. I just prefer to just see the world as it is. So
You're a
I think we
realist.
are at this intersection, and it could break one way or the other.
Yeah, I definitely agree because I'm the kind of person who loves technology, and I'm sure with the development engineering background, you would agree yourself. But I really did think that the change in society where we're going to a technology thing would be a bit slower than it has. Obviously, the pandemic has definitely made everything speed up, but it would also because it would be slower, we would then be able to adjust to it quicker. So, do you think that because everything's happening really quickly, that we have that chance to change it quicker and what we have now? And that might be where your book comes in, where it's aimed at the consumer rather than the workers and the employees.
Yeah, and look, the democratization of everything, right? Power to the people
Mm,
is part of what I'm leaning into. I have decided, I made a conscious decision in my mind that I don't want to talk to the experts anymore. Like, yes, we're all talking to each other. I want to go talk to this audience, and my hope is the experts, so-called experts, are in bed with the technology companies. That's really the truth here. There's a collusion going on. And the only answers that that group seems to want to have any interest in is let's throw more technology at it. I'm not saying it's
mm.
all bad. And even me, the technologist, is like, no. So I'm hoping I can appeal to you, the consumer, people like you and me, to get real about at the end of the day, you have a vote with your wallet. You have your
Mm.
votes with influences, with social media, and all of those things to really demand, right, what makes more sense and really push. Because if you demand it, if the consumer who pays the bill demands it by
Mm.
walking away, making other options, embracing more companies with that, then I think we have a better chance of getting to a better outcome a lot faster than if it's just the experts saying it.
I agree, and I think sometimes we don't like to listen to other people when they say they're experts. We're a bit back off as consumers, but companies love them, so maybe it would create another voice for them to listen to. So we now know who you're aiming this book at. I'm one of those people in that target audience. Why should I pick up your book?
Look, the way I would sort of describe it is you're dealing with customer service today, and customer service sucks. Like, just close your eyes and write a list of the things you would rather do than call a 1-800 number. Like, just get on that list. Like, I will do laundry. I will fold laundry before I would call a big company's phone number and go through their phone tree from hell. And I'm the guy who probably helped build it. Even I don't want to use it. And so we know we're at this tipping point. And I also want to talk about another audience I wrote to, which is the customer service employees. Like,
Mm,
I cannot think of a worse job than being a call center employee at most companies. And it's a job I had for years. And for far too long, you have this divide, right? I have been inside of companies where you go to their website as a customer. Oh my gosh, beautiful buttons. It's delicious. Then I go on the inside and sit next to a customer service agent, and there's just freaking blue screens and green screens from the 80s. Is like 50 million deal, and they're like duct taping their deal. They've got six monitors. It's like, we gotta pivot. So I think the reason you go get it is
mm,
you all know what the problem is, but you can't articulate it. You don't know why it's this. Why is it so bad? And I'll give you the headline answer, which is that bad customer service happens to be very profitable. It's money, like it's money. But there's these details that I feel like if you understood, whether you're a customer service employee, understood why the executives, why it feels like, because they're not evil and they're not stupid. Like they're not doing this. There are these incentives that are created. So I expose it, but it's also more useful than that. And you read the book and you see that I delve deep into drive-through experience. I drove through the citizen services experience, all sort of the airlines, right? Like I talk about my abusive relationship with American Airlines and Delta Airlines for years, right? And it's not just on balance, let's bash this company. It's laying out, here's why they do what they do here, the decisions they make from a guy who's been in those rooms. And then more importantly, I give you tools that can then help you do this fight back. So buy the book. I need it because I'm not making any friends. And the more I am talking, I'm realizing I just called all of my colleagues idiots. So, buy the book and join the site, join the revolution. I think that there is an opportunity here for us to do some good. And it won't happen by me just talking to those companies. I've been doing that for 20 years. That hasn't gotten me very far. I think the audience can help.
I think so too, and I'm quite curious because I did read the book and I definitely highlighted everything funny about what you said because I thought it was hilarious. But I'll come right back to that. What I found most interesting was how similar it is from, obviously if you're listening to this, you can hear that I'm British, so even over here we have the same experience, and yet we're completely different countries. We have different values. I feel like British people. So I work for an Australian company, and Australians are very chill, but British people are very demanding.
Right.
But you did talk about kind of looking at other countries' customer services in the book, but would you say that it's kind of like a bigger problem in the Western world, or is there something that you think you can put your finger on, if I can get the words out? Is there something you could put your finger on that you think might be kind of the main thing to look at? Because you do cover quite a plethora of topics.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you see the universality in some of this. Like it applies. I'm obviously American, and so it's decidedly American, and the brands are American. But I'm glad that even for you in the UK, you see the parallel. So here's how I would describe it to you, right? Capitalism, for better or for worse, is Western, and we've exported capitalism with all its goods and its bads and its evils all around the world. So my sense is, no matter where you live, no matter where you are in this sort of global world we live in, these experiences are already there, or they're coming to a town near you very soon as the West exports, as McDonald's. If you have a McDonald's in your country, you have this, right? Like it's like if we've exported, if there's Coca-Cola in your country, you have elements of this. And the reason I'm saying that is I beat up on technology quite a bit, but this is not a technology story alone. In other words, a fork used to be an advanced piece of technology, and then one day it became useful and we stopped calling it technology, right? The same thing is what I am saying is that, using technology is a cop-out, and you're seeing that all across the world. So the theme, the straw, the connective tissue that goes through all of these, wherever you live in the world, comes down to this. At the end of the day, whether it's your government, whether it's a company you do business with, right, wants to make a profit, or your government has less resources than the number of people it's trying to serve, and they have to make choices of what things to squeeze. And universally, we've decided that the one place we can skip is in customer service. And if you don't believe me, just think about any company you've worked for and anywhere, even if it's a little shop. who gets paid one of the least? Whoever is the one dealing with the customers. It's upside down. And I'm trying to just point out that like your business doesn't exist without customers. And then you create a department or someone to take care of customers. And you're going, anyone can do it. Let's put this people we don't trust, pay them very little, give them a script, take all the humanity out of them. And that then is a universal concept. As long as you have capitalism in there, it's that. And where I'm trying to move the deal is I'm a capitalist. This is not a deal of capitalism. It's saying that there are other places you can squeeze. And I just think it is stupid to squeeze the customer service side of the balloon. Like that's not the place to skimp, in my opinion. You don't have to spend a whole lot. That doesn't mean to be a whole deal, but there are ways to do this. And the default answer everywhere in the world is, how can I do the service then for the absolute cheapest? And that tends to be this thread that spreads through along. And you see it even in government, right? They will not save money anywhere else, but they will make you wait in long lines. And sometimes I walk into the building and I go, if you don't have enough money, how about sell this building of empty offices here? Give me a kiosk, give me whatever, but hire more people or give me better technology. Like that's the reflex has always been, let me squeeze the service part because that's the part that they feel like they can get away with.
I want to go on to something else, but you said something really interesting that I want to ask you about. So we were just talking about like the employees now having power. And what you're saying now is obviously there's this disconnect between the executives and the call center and the customer service employees who aren't getting what they need to do the job. Now you have the Great Resignation, where people who have the skills are going to better places where they can get the technology, the remuneration, the whatever it is that they need. Is that going to be the kicking point for the executives and the CEOs of those companies to take more interest in their customer service department?
I think so. I think because now it's bringing in companies to their knees in some cases. Like it's like, look at all the companies that reported earnings or in this quarter talk, they can't find enough employees, which is reducing how much money they can make. So the beauty of capitalism is that they'll throw money at it, right? There's been the largest increase in compensation, at least in the United States, for low wage and service employees in a generation has happened all within the last 18 months. So there is some hope there. Although I am skeptical though. The reason I am skeptical is that the history of capitalism has been to find cheaper and cheaper labor so that we increase profits. So a part of me thinks, and it's not just to think, I have conversations with C-suite executives all the time, that yes, they will pay the ransom for now, but I think as they hang up the phone and approve your raise, they're picking up the other line and calling automation companies, think about robotic process automation companies, AI, and they are doubling down on the technology piece because they're like, oh, no, this is eating into I will pay you now just to keep the lights on. My sense is that's not going to be enough because there is quite a lot of advancements in automation. The second thing that is also doesn't make me optimistic is that remote work, right? Remote work is going to do to white collar jobs, right? What globalization did to blue collar work, which means we're already on that. But the acceleration of it now means that, I talk about outsourcing in the book and that, like, it used to be, going to India and going to all of those places. I used to travel all around the world to find cheap laborers for the deal. But now that you have remote work, I'm looking at my US staff going, nah, you want all of this money? Oh, wait a second. I got a guy all the way halfway around the world who would do the
Mm,
same thing as a fraction of the cost. So I think about all those forces. I think there's some short-term things, but longer term, I just feel like the executives will revert back to what they know, which is that. Now, I think the reason I wrote this book is that it's important for consumers and customers, right? As I sort of titled it, Waiting for Service, who are sick of waiting for service. If they add their voice, not voice by tweeting and your hashtagging and all of that nonsense, voice with your wallet, and choose places and companies that are, I am not against globalization and technology or that, but are doing the right thing and delivering the service you deserve. I think
mm.
that will do more to encourage executives to go in the right direction than just this moment we're having in time when labor is having a moment, because I think automation and globalization may revert things back to the mean.
I'm actually quite interested in the differences that happen between the UK with Brexit, where we're kind of like, we don't want cheap labour, we want you to pay us what we want, blah blah blah. Where it would kind of be going back on that to go and find cheap labour and what you guys do. So I'm actually quite curious about what you just said and where that goes in the future. So we'll have to wait and see for that. And what you're saying to me is know your buying power, and I intend on doing that. I did definitely get that message from your book as well, so I'm hoping that people get that too. I'm going to round off, but before I do, I just want to read you some of your cut quotes from the last 5 years because I really want
Yes.
to know what drove you to write some of them. So, ooh, the first one is every McDonald's hamburger will taste a little bit better if served by a Chick-fil-A employee.
I think for many people listening, Chick-fil-A has a cult following. And I got to tell you, their chicken sandwiches are meh. They're not as good as you think they are. They taste a little bit more delicious because of all the pleases and the thank you and the my pleasure, right? And so I
Mm.
think that's one I said many years ago, and it's just like I don't think Chick-fil-A's burgers are that great. But there's if McDonald's just copied and pasted their attitude towards service, right? All of a sudden, that crappy Big Mac that's going to kill you starts to have just a slightly sweeter taste to it. So the secret of how Chick-fil-A, by the way, Chick-fil-A doesn't do any coupons. They don't have a
Do
dollar
they not?
menu in that deal. They don't do any of that nonsense. And they're more profitable than their rivals and all of those things. And it's because they have this cult following. And even their slight, little taste of, some anti-gay things that their ownership has done, right? Still
Mm.
hasn't hurt them as much. And I think it's because that service element, right, has allowed them to just be perceived better than they are. Apologies to all the Chick-fil-A fans. The sandwiches are not that great. They're okay. They're fine. They're edible. But I don't see why there's this long line that goes. I know it's because it's service. It's the service that's making that then taste better than it is. And it's not any better for you. It's just that. So yes, every McDonald's hamburger will taste a little sweeter if they just followed what Chick-fil-A does.
Do you know what? You're probably right. Like I had to go to Chick-fil-A when we went to America. It's the first time in America. We were like, we have to get Chick-fil-A. Everybody's talking about Chick-fil-A, and we were kind of like, I'm from London. We've got this place called Morley's. It's just this, chained little chicken shop. Not even a McDonald's. It's just like a franchise. Amazing. So much better. Right. Next one is federal prisoners have more freedom than call center agents. That's a
I
bit
gotta
deep
tell you,
now.
that's still true. If you are listening to my voice and you work in a call center, if you worked in a call center, and in at least most call centers, you know exactly what I mean, right? What are the job tells you, measures how long you spend in the bathroom. Like they track every little thing. What other job turns you into a hostage? You must thank you for calling customer service. Can I? Yes, they everything you do. There's no freedom, which goes back to my point about how companies view service.
Mm,
Is that you bring these people in, you clearly don't trust them, you monitor their calls. Who else? Who wants to listen to all of your phone calls? Like, why do I need all of this, right? And you
mm,
put people on you don't trust, you strip them all of their humanity because you've commoditized service in your head. Any idiot can do it. I could put it there, and I am trying to lift this profession because I happen to think I can't think of a more important job than the person responsible for my customers. So I don't believe anyone who's ever worked in a call center would disagree with the fact that you have little freedom even in when you go to the bathroom. That's tracked. They know exactly how many minutes you
mm.
spend. you
I
spend.
think it's so funny because obviously everybody is talking about Amazon's treatment of their staff, and I'm sure it's a bigger news story as over there as it is over here. Um, but this is the same way that they've been treating call center staff for years.
For
So
decades.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's been this way. It's been this way for a long, long, long time,
mm,
right? And it's just the Amazon warehouse story has more leverage, right? So when Amazon has 50% of the e-commerce market in the US, they have a little more leverage because they're responsible for the package, and so it's getting more visibility. But you're correct. I've been on this topic for over 10 years at how terrible it is to work in a call center. And no one has ever stopped to ask the question, wait a second, why is this job so crappy when the
mm,
job is literally responsible for keeping customers happy? And if customers are not happy, the company doesn't even exist. So tell
yeah.
me a more important department, why have we put up with such low pay and such terrible working conditions for too long? And my mission is to shine a light on this. And once the light is shone on it, I think we will be able to make positive change in that area.
I agree, and I'm sure everybody who works in customer service or even specifically call centers would agree as well. Unsure whether or not we'll convince those C-suite people, but we'll do our best. Now, I know we're out of time, but I'm so glad that we're going to be coming back and talking more about waiting for service. I have a lot of questions about it. So I'm glad we got a few episodes together. Um, but thank you for joining me. I am really, really excited about by speaking with you today about what your intentions are, but more excited about what's next. So until next time, I guess.